Thank you, John. You're our official first guest on Deserted City Desks. Thanks for joining us.
Pleasure to be here, Louise.
So obviously this is a spin-off of Desert I Like This. So we're going to ask a few questions. And if you want to tell us a bit about why you've made the choice that you have, why these things are meaningful to you, but also throughout give our colleagues maybe some recommendations to help them through the boredom that is self-isolation. So what's a song that you love or is meaningful to you?
So this was a very cruel question because you're asking me for one song, and on Desert Island Discs they were allowed 8. So it's taken a lot of pain, and I hope my wife in a different room can't overhear this because I'm not going to choose our song, so to speak. So here's my story. I have 2 incredible daughters who I'm very proud of. They're strong young women and they're talented and they are kind of real go-for individuals. So every day I'm proud of them. So here's my story. So when my first daughter Ella was born, she was born early evening on a Friday. And about 11:30 that night, I was leaving the hospital to come home, leaving my wife and child in hospital. And that feeling of having a child was amazing. And I got in the car. And I turned the ignition on, and playing on the radio, no joke, was this song, which I think you're about to play.
Yeah.
Which is George Benson's version of The Greatest Love of All. I felt at that time, wow, I've just had my first child born, and the song on the radio as I turn the ignition in the car is The Greatest Love of All. So this was the version that was played, and that's why I love this song, and it's very memorable to me.
Then leading on from that, what about an album or a playlist that's going to help you get through isolation?
Well, I have it here and I've pulled it up for you. I've done in fact, the same daughter that I've just talked about, who has just moved back in 2 weeks ago because her flatmate is an A&E doctor, so she had to kind of get out of the place. So she's moved back home, which is okay. So her and I are doing exercise classes every morning under her tutelage in the garden. But I have put the music together. So I have a playlist called COVID-19. And on that playlist, I'll tell you now. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Do you want to see it? Shall I show it or shall I read it?
Read out a few of the songs for anyone who's not watching.
I've got the aptly named Work From Home by Fifth Harmony.
Yeah, very good song. Good song choice.
Wake Me Up by Avicii. I Don't Care, Ed Sheeran, Justin Bieber. Don't Start Now, Dua Lipa, I think it's pronounced. I've got Eric Clapton's Bad Love. I've got Chasing Cars, Snow Patrol, Good Riddance by Green Day. George Michael's Amazing, and American Boy by Estelle featuring Kanye West. That is that's our 35-minute bang in the mornings.
I think that sounds like a good little workout playlist for the, one day a week where I might manage that.
Or maybe my daughter can go viral and we can all do the exercises from our...
You could do a class.
Yeah, we have to do a class.
Yeah, Mr. Motivator. Yeah, okay, so next question. What about, do you have a book that you would recommend to people?
I do, and I brought it down. And I have to say, this is the most... I read this on holiday in January, and it is the most moving, compelling, sad, interesting book I've ever read. Okay, and I'm really going to recommend it to everybody. So everybody go onto Amazon. Here it is. I brought it down.
Yeah.
That, okay. So it's called The Only Plane in the Sky, and what it is, okay, The Only Plane in the Sky, and it's basically a transcription of hundreds and hundreds of people's recollection of 9/11, people who were there. Okay, so it's a tragic tale, but it's absolutely fascinating. So if I just read you the sleeve, because it'll tell you what it is. First comprehensive oral history of 9/11, deftly woven and told in the voices of ordinary men and women caught up in the unprecedented human drama of that terrible day. Drawing on never before published transcripts, recently declassified documents, new and archived interviews from nearly 500 people. So every page, I'll just show you like what a page looks like. It's different people telling part of the story.
Yeah.
It's the most moving, amazing book, and I'm not sure why it hasn't had more kind of coverage and press, because it's an absolute must-read. for anybody. Great read.
Definitely sounds like a good one to read while you're at home and people can't see you crying your way through it. Probably
You
better
will.
at home than on your commuter train.
Yes, I mean it is a really easy pick up, put down book. The other book, actually, if people want a lighter subject, is a book called Shoe Dog. Okay, Shoe Dog, which is the autobiography of a guy called Phil Knight. Okay, and Phil Knight, who's no one's ever heard of, is the founder of Nike.
Okay.
And it's basically the story of how he built it from nothing, from his garage, selling trainers which he imported from Japan, to how he built this $1 billion kind of global empire.
Cool.
So it's quite a light read, but it's a really, really interesting story as well.
Much shorter. Try and find the links and send them out.
Okay, so send the links. So The Only Plane in the Sky and Shoe Dog are my recommendations.
Strong choices. What about a podcast? Are you into podcasts or audio books or anything?
Well, I'm into Desert Island Discs, but actually the one I've just discovered since I've been stuck at home is a thing called Off Menu. You heard of it?
No.
It's Off Menu. So it's James Acaster, okay, who I find hilarious anyway, and Ed Gamble, comedians.
Okay, yeah.
So they have a guest every week. You're looking it up, aren't you? I can see. So
no, I'm making a note so that I can send people the link, and I know I'll forget. Off Menu.
They invite people to their restaurant, okay, to order the meal of their choice. Right, so it starts with what water do you want, what bread do you want, what's your hors d'oeuvre, what's your main course, what's your side dish, what's your dessert, what wine do you want. So it's everybody's kind of favorite food, but it's an hours long, but it's completely random, and they just go off on the most ridiculous tangents. It's very funny.
Okay.
So like they had, Tom Allen, the comedian.
Yeah.
They had him on last week. The three of them they just talk rubbish, really, but it's very, very funny.
So if you were on the show, what would your main meal be?
Oh, Louise, your interviewing skills, what can I say? Not sure what my starter would be, but I know what my main course would be. It would be a deep fried crispy chili beef.
Oh, strong choice.
Right, yeah. And my dessert would have to be sticky toffee pudding.
With custard, ice cream?
Yeah, custard, maybe clotted cream. Difficult one.
Clotted cream.
But they basically talk around their food. And So Off Menu. So if people want a spare hour, they want something in the background while they're working, that's your podcast.
I'll give it a go. What about a series? Is there anything you're watching at the moment that you think other people might find good to kill the time?
Well, so what I've watched, and there's a third series out this week actually, is a Netflix series called Fauda, Fauda, okay, which is basically, you want it, okay, which is basically undercover Israeli Mossad agents, right, with like Hamas terrorists and the likes. So it's basically a battle of goodies and baddies and baddies and goodies, and but it's fun. It's very fast moving. It's very action packed, and it's very, each episode when, oh my god, you can't stop it there. What's going to happen? The good thing
it's
with Netflix
a binge
is you can go
watcher.
straight into the next one. Yeah, it's a binge watcher, but it's Fauda. They're about to start their third series, but it's good. Subtitled, but it's good.
Okay.
Very good.
And then what about film?
Well, kind of my favourite film is kind of a bit of an obvious one, really, and it's one that everyone would give you, which is Shawshank Redemption. I'll put my teeth in.
Good choice.
Shawshank. So I'm not going to go with that one. Okay, so I'm going to go with Midnight Express. Okay, which is an 80s film. Do you remember it? You heard of it?
Yeah, I feel like that rings a bell, but I couldn't tell you now what it's about. I reckon I've seen it.
True story of an American tourist who tried to smuggle drugs out of Turkey and got thrown into prison. And it's basically his story of how he got on in prison and ultimately, shouldn't give the plot away, escaped from prison. But it's an Alan Parker film. It's a great movie. I haven't seen it for quite a few years, but it was my favourite.
Do
Actually,
you
the
know
other
where
answer
people might be able to watch it? Is it like on a
I
Netflix or Amazon Prime or anything?
pass. I don't know. It's probably certainly on YouTube, I guess.
We'll
But
do some
the most embarrassing,
research.
yeah, my most embarrassing answer I can give you. When I was in my 20s, I was into Fame, right? Do you remember
Right.
Fame, the music,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
I can
And
see
I
it, the
saw it.
leg warmers.
I watched 21 times.
What's that?
Fame, I watched 21 times.
21 times.
21 times, yeah.
Was it maybe that you liked some of the people in it a bit too much,
No,
or was it just the
no
gripping
music.
storyline and the music?
What's the storyline? The music and the dancing. I love musicals. Love musicals.
Favorite musical?
West Side Story, Guys and Dolls.
Yeah, both really good.
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you watched any of these live ones that they're doing, or any of the live theatre performances?
We did watch Joseph the other night.
Nice.
Yes, yes. But that's the only one.
Those are all my questions, John. Thank you very much. Any
Okay.
other last question? Have you got any activity recommendations or anything like that? It can be for families or individuals to keep people going through quarantine.
No, I'm doing my exercise. Do your exercises, keep fit, and I'm walking 10,000 steps every day, at least. It's my new obsessive. And I've now done 16 days in a row of 10,000 steps or more,
Very good.
including one night walking around the garden at 10:30 at night just to get to the 10,000. I will do it.
Impressive. How
I will
big's
do
your
it.
garden? Just doing
Well,
that.
yes, literally just doing a lap of the garden, and it's not that big a garden either. Because so much of my day at the moment is spent on a screen like this. It's not as if I can walk around. I'm kind of sitting
Yeah.
down. I'm trying to move rooms, not just sit at the same place the whole time. But people have got to keep on the move. That's my advice.
Thank you very much for being the first person to do this, my guinea pig experiment. Thank you, and thank you for your recommendations as well.
And great job, Lauren Laverne.